Okay, so we just got done in the previous video talking about emotional wellness, and some things that really can help with emotional wellness is kind of having a sense of bigger picture, which will lead us into our conversation on spiritual wellness.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? How do you guys define spiritual wellness?
Sure. It's really looking at your purpose in life. And so it is, like you said, that bigger picture. It's our sense of self, it's our values and our belief systems that we're utilizing to find purpose in life.
So not necessarily like that formal, like needing to go to a place of practice. It can look very different for everyone. So what are some examples
Yeah.
of what this could look like?
Absolutely. So when people hear spiritual wellness, they absolutely go to religion,
Mm-hmm.
which for some people is where they find their well-being when it comes to spirituality. But for some people, that's not really their vibe. And so it can look like going to church and finding community in church or praying. But it also can be volunteering for things that set your soul on fire, right? That like just really light you up. It can be spending time alone and being, thinking about what does make me excited, what makes me want to contribute in this life and in this society. It could be meditation. It can be practicing mindfulness. There's a lot of different spaces and places that people can experience that purpose in life.
Yeah, and I think you had mentioned a lot of times as you were talking through it, it's like it's a lot of connectedness.
Yes.
And so having that sense of purpose and connection with an idea or others. So as far as the spiritual wellness, can this be some areas that you can really lean on when you are feeling kind of more emotionally kind of drained and that end of the wellness wheel being a bit more of a challenge?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of studies out there that people that have spirituality, and typically the studies are around faith, and so religion, experience better health outcomes when they're facing like a cancer diagnosis or other health issues. And so I think that applies to all dimensions of the wheel, right? If you are finding value and purpose in things, it's going to make you more well.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, some of that could just be doing mindfulness walk
Yeah.
or just being aware of what's happening around you, your senses, or meditation. I have looked at some of the literature on that one. So with meditation, they show that you're creating more resiliency for your brain to be able to cope with the higher stress levels and actually shrinks the amygdala, the area that has that stress response.
Yeah.
So all of you, as you mentioned, all these dimensions of wellness tie well together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say even the like connection to people, like you said, right? Community, where all human beings need connection. And so that connection to others, whether it is through faith-based communities or community service. And then also what you were talking about really made me think about just like that mindfulness and meditation piece. 5 minutes of just slowing down brings our heart rate down, which helps reduce risk of cardiovascular disease and like other health outcomes. And so it's a huge piece of like our well-being.
Yeah, if we want to pull in my anatomy, physiology nerdiness,
Yes.
if you do the deep breath that comes with meditation, like that slower deep breath, it actually turns off that sympathetic response and kicks on our parasympathetic response. I just use science words. It turns off our fight or flight response and turns back on our rest and digest response that we can consciously trigger by just taking those slower, deeper breaths. So sometimes it's just a matter of recognizing when you're stressed and just going, okay, 3 slower breaths, and you can kind of reset the system.
Yeah.
Hard reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How great is that?
I know. Thanks.